I don't think kids these days could ever imagine, could ever like even comprehend how amazing and how cool and how fun it was to rent a video game. Like, imagine this, right? You don't have instant access to everything. So the video game experience was pretty finite. You would kind of know through the grapevine what games were popping. You'd wait all week, you know, the anticipation would build. And then you would get to the day, Friday. And I know Fridays were our day to like go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, and like my oldest brother would take us, or like my dad or grandma would take us. And this experience of going to mainly Blockbuster, because it was pretty close by, I think that's something we can all, at least people around my age, can relate to. You know, you walk in, the door kind of jingles. Or maybe you're bringing back some stuff too, that little slot where you just like shove your VHS tapes in your video games. I always like doing that. But you walk in and you don't immediately go to your game. You don't want the instant gratification like that. You go and you look around. You know, there's all these shelves everywhere. Looking at games, hoping that the game you want is there, because there's a good chance if it was a big game, it wasn't. You would check. Sometimes the case was there, sometimes the case wasn't. Sometimes you would have to walk up as a little kid and ask the grown-up, do you have Metal Gear Solid in? That was always a terrifying experience. But you had the table full of snacks, right? The big tubs of popcorn and like the sour whatevers. And you're going up and down, you're looking at your games. And I know what I did, and I'm sure like we all kind of did this too. I was like a Nintendo guy, or maybe you were like a Sega person or whatever, PlayStation, Nintendo. You'd go and you'd look at all the games that you couldn't rent, right? Because you didn't have the right system. And you'd see what you were missing out on. And that was so fun. And it was so... I think what I miss about Blockbuster was how like communal it was. It felt really cool to just kind of be in that space where you're all kind of there for the same thing. Like you're all going to have a fun night. And you know, I think today, with just so much instant access, that is literally extinct. Blockbuster is. But anyways, like, so you find your game, right? You find your game. Our game. You take it home. You crack it open. You probably, if you had, some extra money, you would get some snacks. God, the markup on those. You don't think it's nothing. You just expect your parents to buy that. But looking back, I'm sure they're just like, this more. We got snacks at home. But you would get some snacks because it was part of the experience, And you cracked open your game. And like, the clock was ticking. Because you only had like, if you were like, sometimes you would get it for the weekend. Sometimes you would only get it for like a day or two. But you knew you just had that weekend to beat your game. And that's what made it so like really, it was cool, and it was so memorable because you only had a short time with that experience, whatever the game it might be. No guides, no YouTube, walkthroughs. And Is there a game that you guys would rent over and over and over just to beat it? Because you couldn't just beat it in the one day that your parents, got it for you, or beat it in the weekend. I remember specifically there was two that just for some reason we would just always rent. One was Super Mario RPG for the Super Nintendo, which, playing it again, it's not a very long game, but it felt really long when I was a kid. And that one took a few rentals to beat, and I just love that game. And the next one was Metal Gear Solid, because that game was just really hard for me. That was the first stealth game I had ever played, and it didn't click for a while. That one took more than a few for it to actually click in, like how I play this new experience. But that was kind of the fun. It was also a crapshoot. Sometimes you got bad games, but the cases looked really cool in the back of the cases, and you read it and it sounds like it was like really cool. Like the Bouncer by like Square, it was Squaresoft back then. They made the Bouncer, and if you don't remember what the Bouncer was, I thought it was like, because I mean I didn't know any better. I thought it was like going to be like a Final Fantasy kind of game, like a JRPG, but it was like this really kind of like generic beat 'em up, game. So sometimes you got burned. Sometimes you found some hidden gems. Did you guys find any hidden gems on the walls at Blockbuster? With no like constant stream of information, you didn't really know what you were getting. For me, most of my gaming, well, basically all of my gaming news came from like once a month. You would get like an EGM magazine, Electronic Gaming Monthly, or like a Game Pro, which I still have like a big like stack of Game Pros somewhere. I think they're like in storage, but like old Game Pros, or like PlayStation, PSX. I think that's what it was called. Or no, PSM, what am I saying? PSM, PlayStation Magazine. You had like Nintendo Power. Xbox had their own there for a little while. The old Game Informers, which were actually like good compared to like the crappy Game Informer now. But yeah, that was your only news of like what was good or gonna be good. And then it was just word of mouth. Like, what were people saying? People were talking about Metal Gear Solid, and like that's what sells you on the game. It wasn't like commercials or anything else really. And I think I just miss that, like that feeling like gaming was an event, that communal feeling, that kind of like grassroots, like we're all playing this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's too analytical now. You can go to your Steam charts and like you're gonna see Grand Theft Auto 6, there's 10 million people playing it. It doesn't feel the same as when you go out and there's all your friends are talking about Ocarina of Time. That was one that was never there. A Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time were never in stock, ever. Let me know what games that you remember never ever being in stock, because I love those games, and I had them at my house, but they were just never at the Blockbuster because people were always renting them out, and I was like, well, poor bastards. Game's great. Thanks, Mom, for getting me. It was an N64. Quick tangent. My mom got us an N64 with Ocarina of Time for Christmas one year, and we found it in the top of the closet like a month before Christmas, like a month before Christmas, before it was Christmas. My brain's farting, and we would just take it down and like peel open the sticker and like take out the N64 and plug it in, because she was off taking my oldest brother, to school, and like back in the day you just left your kids at home, and that's kind of how it was. And we would play like the opening section of Ocarina of Time like over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then like we knew what time roughly she would be back, so we'd turn it off and throw it back up in the closet. And yeah, that's just like a fun little gaming memory. But yeah, gaming felt very much more like an event because it felt very much more organic. Um, and like as I'm getting older, it's still fun. I still love gaming, and you guys know the channel. I love games. It doesn't quite feel the same. A little bit of the magic is gone. I think that comes with instant access, things like Game Pass, which like I love Game Pass, but I unsubscribed when they actually increased the price, but I still use like the basic one for the online. But anyways, it was like I thought I loved Game Pass, but there's just too many games on there. It's like paralysis, like overload paralysis. It's just too much. And you don't get to savor the one game that you can really sit with for a night up until like 2, 3 in the morning because you only have so much time to play it. Or over the weekend. Like it's just, yeah, it's just too much all at once. And you've kind of diluted the experience by just flooding the market with all these games and services and instant access, and you can have a game like a new game. I would just uninstall and install a new game, play it for a little bit, and I would like it. I would like the game, but then another game would come along, so I'd uninstall that, and you know what I mean. It's kind of a double-edged sword. There's good things and bad things about gaming today. But I think it kind of lost a lot of the wonder that came with walking into a blockbuster, walking into a Hollywood video, going, scanning up and down the aisles, trying to find a game for you. And if you were rich and cool, you could also buy a console. Well, not buy a console, but rent a console. And then you would find like your video game comfort food, maybe like Super Mario RPG or Metal Gear Solid, or try out something completely new. And it was just a roll of the dice. And that was that. And that was part of the experience. Like today, you know what you're getting a month before you get it because there's previews and everybody's talking about it and like every video is about it. And you lose a lot of that mystery. And that's just kind of what I miss about renting. And I was just thinking about that earlier today, and I decided to just make a video. So take care. Let me know if you agree. Let me know some of your fun blockbuster stories or Hollywood video stories. Which, am I crazy, or were Hollywood videos like more in the ghetto? I've been to both, by the way. There was both. So that's just my perception. But anyways, God bless, and remember to always be yourself.